So this is a short video to get you ready to engage in the Socratic seminar tomorrow. So in order to do that, right, you need under this week, which is kind of down in the classwork section on Google Classroom, you are getting into the blueprint speech. So we've been doing this in class over the past 2 weeks. If you haven't, for whatever reason, that's fine. You can still do and definitely should do the Socratic seminar, and you just have to like bring yourself up to speed today and be ready. So the blueprint speech is divided into 3 different sections. There's this pink section at the beginning, the middle section, blue section, and then the purple section at the end. And the idea is that you read each section and you work through these prompts, right? You're trying to find the main points. You are figuring out how the main points relate back to his overall message in the speech. So I do want to take a couple of seconds to remind you that a message would be what Dr. King wants. So you literally just complete the sentence. Dr. King wants, and then what comes after it should be a universal idea or abstract noun. So he doesn't just want students to graduate high school because that's not an abstract idea. Like we know we can see a graduation, right? We can walk through a graduation. But for instance, he wants us to understand that to make a future worth fighting for, we must build plans for it. So we have in that sentence, we have future, we have building plans. This one is he wants us to believe that we can overcome our struggles. We have overcoming struggles. Those are the big ideas, right? They're different for everybody and they're abstract. We can't see them, touch them, buy them, sell them, feel them. So you would have to figure out what he wants, not in general, like Dr. King wants civil rights, equality for all. What does he want in this speech? Okay. And again, it's not he wants students to graduate high school, right? Because that is tangible. We know it, we see it. We attend a graduation. So this is a close reading, and these prompts are really pushing you towards close reading at a critical level of a text. And you're looking for metaphor, right? So if you were out of class and you forgot or you don't know what a metaphor is, Google it, look it up. Metaphor is his title, life's blueprint. Well, we know that a blueprint is for an architect, but once he brings it into the poem, it becomes something else. It has another meaning. And that in itself is a metaphor. It can also be a comparison of 2 things that normally would not be compared. And then when they come together, they create this new image, this new thing in our mind, right? That is part of figurative language, the kind of language that you see in a poem or you read in a poem. And then you decide, like, look, I'm finding metaphor over here, like I'm reading through, I see blueprint repeated a lot, but are there other metaphors? And then if there are, which is the strongest, in your opinion? And then you're highlighting in orange a quote that really speaks to his tone. This is important. We've been studying tone all year. This is a really great tone handout, and it forces you to look at these words that we need to be learning anyway and figuring out, okay, what's his attitude like here? What does he sound like? Tone would be his attitude towards his topic. And so if his topic overall in the speech is that, look, you young people, which is what he says, like he's speaking to 8th graders, he's like, you guys need to have, this is a very important time in your life, and you need to have a direction. And without this direction, you're just not going to be as successful. And that's his claim. And we can agree or disagree with it, which we should be agreeing or disagreeing with it, right? We can take a stance in response to his claim. So you're doing that repeatedly in each of the sections, okay? And then after you've read it, you're thinking, out of these 3 sections, the pink, the blue, the purple, beginning, middle, end, which do I think is the most important, right? So in fact, if you go back to Google Classroom, okay, keep the blueprint speech open on your computer, push it to the side on a separate, tab, split your screen, and then go into Socratic Seminar Virtual. And so once you've opened up this document, this is the explanation for what we're doing in class tomorrow, Friday. It is your final assessment or final exam for term 2, and it's incredibly important that you are on point and you try and you just push yourself to be a part of this. Socratic means that it's a question-based environment, right? So we discuss and we learn and we grow through asking questions. And that's what this is about. We will have 2 discussion leaders per group. Period 3 will be divided into 2 groups because of its size, and then each group will have 2 discussion leaders. The periods 1 and 4 will just be in one group with 2 discussion leaders. And those people have already volunteered, and their job is to manage the class. I mean, so myself as a teacher, I'm just an observer the entire class. It's up to you all in the discussion and the discussion leaders. So it's super important that, you put into it what you want out of it. So your goal is to learn something and expand your mind. So you're going to be responsible for how that goes in the class. So basically there's 3 things that you want to do, okay, to earn a 100% on this exam, right? I tell you right here, it's like a buffet at a restaurant. Which grade do you want? Take it, put it on your plate, and there you have it. So 100% on the exam is that you speak out loud with 2 opinions that you have in relation to the prompt. And I'll go over the prompt with you in just a second. And then you ask 3 questions in relation to the subject, the topic of the prompt in the text. And those questions can be to someone directly, maybe asking for clarification, maybe pushing them a little bit because you're going to disagree with their opinion, or you're asking the group a question, an open-ended question about the text, about the prompt, to push their thinking. And here on this page, I have discussion frames for the discussion. And so obviously you don't have to use all of these, but I would have this page open during the Socratic seminar, definitely. In class, I would have had you put it on your table because I use these too when I'm in meetings. I mean, part of my job when I'm in discussion groups for my job or just for fun, I would go in with questions that I want, and I have to actually look at a probing questions list, which is this, in order to effectively participate in the discussion. So these are great questions to use. Look at them before the seminar if you can, and just maybe pick 3 of these just to have ready to go. Ultimately, when you're in the actual discussion, things change, right? And so you will be asking questions that you think of during the discussion as prompted by the conversation that is happening. I told the class when we were in class that it's like a game of chess, or if you're a chess player, or any athlete, if you are a basketball player, a football player, you are a strategic thinker. I mean, you need the mental strategy almost more so than physical or equal to physical, right? And then you have your plays in your head that you're good at, or or your coach is telling you to make, right? And so before the game, you can envision those plays, or before a chess tournament. But then when you meet your opponent face to face, things change. It's like a dance. You would respond to that person. The same thing in a discussion. You go in and you have your game plan, and then something changes and someone says something and you want to respond. And that's how, same thing. It's like a match. It's a meeting of the minds, mental strategy. So you do those 2 things, and then you demonstrate that you're listening by simply using people's names. I remember that Naira said this, and I really want to build on what Christian said about this, okay, and what Alexa said about this. So you're really taking notes if you have to. I do when I'm in a discussion, if I'm in a team meeting, and I'll remember that, oh, Miss Crowley said this, so that I can give her credit for what she said and then show that I'm listening and that I'm following the discussion. So if you do those three things, you will earn a 100%. If you speak out loud, right, in the discussion with those things, you will earn definitely 100%. And then one other assignment, the highest point assignment for recovery grade, meaning you will earn an A on something that you didn't get to do. If you've done all your grades, then you'll earn extra credit. So let's say you do everything, but you're just not feeling like you want to speak for whatever reason. And we talk a lot about that, and I respect that and I understand. And so you will earn an A minus. If you do everything and you're in the chat primarily, but you do try to speak, it's an A. It's an A. But you won't go lower than an A if you just feel like you're not comfortable speaking. If you're in the chat, okay, one of the discussion leaders will read out what's in the chat. And then just these two things. I mean, if you don't do what above, you'll get a 70 or a 59 if you show up, but you didn't do anything. And this is an important term grade for many of us. This is going to make it or break it, right? So we want to be on this. The seminar prompt, I think, is interesting. It's a lot of fun. So you are a team of editors and you are writing a new book about the civil rights era for students. It is important to note that your audience that you're putting together this poem or this speech for, they're students, like high school. It's like a textbook that you're making. You must cut his speech to just one of the shaded sections on the speech. So remember, back in the document that you also have open on your computer right now, his speech is divided into 3 sections. So I'm saying, okay, you've got to have just one of them and that you have to get rid of the other 2 sections. So the question is, right, which parts of the speech do you fight to keep? Meaning which part of the speech do you want to keep? And then which parts can be cut? And so I just have these again, what you're doing. It's on a debate, so you're coming with persuasive tactics. You're just persuading. And everybody is already an expert in persuasion because, as I've said in class, we persuade with every single time we speak. We want something every single time we speak. I mean, that is the claim that I'm making. It would be fun to debate that claim, but I believe that when we speak, we want something. So we all know we're good at persuasion. Human beings, we're great at persuasion. So we'd come in and it's not a debate because you have something that you want and the person next to you may feel the same way. So even if everyone around the class feels the same way, you all choose the same part of the speech to cut, that's still a deep discussion because you can build on what other people say and expand your thinking based on what's similar, right? So this is about agreeing and building on people's comments. Like, I want to build on to what Maimuna said, right? So those are adding and building comments. Okay. So what you're doing to prepare for the seminar is after you've read his blueprint speech and hopefully after you've done some digging in with the close reading questions, you're going to write a statement. We should keep section 1, the purple section, or whatever you want to call it, the color, the part of the speech, beginning, middle, or end, because. And you have to have a reason. That because is so important. And then you would bring specific evidence from the text and to say why. Look, we should keep the beginning part of the speech because this is the best metaphor. He has the best metaphor. He repeats the metaphor 3 times. Students need to know that this metaphor exists because it will get students to think differently about, right? So you remember that you're writing this book for students, right? And you're basically cutting Dr. King's beautiful speech to just a third of it. even think about one question to ask in the seminar is, what would he say today if you were cutting two parts out? So you have that responsibility. Like, you have to choose the most important piece that you think students should know, and that's all they're going to know is the part that you pick. So the second claim that you're making is we should cut or eliminate these two sections, and you're going to name them because. And so we talked about it, like if you're a coach and you have 3 point guards, I don't know if there are 3 point guards on a team, I don't know anything about sports, but if you have 3 point guards and the coach says you need to cut 2 of them, you're going to go to that coach's meeting with 2 angles. You're going to go with, these are the reasons why these guys need to go. Like, they shouldn't be on this team. And so you're using, you're not defending, right? Yet you are naming the reasons why the other 2 should be eliminated. And then you would say, and you know what? Having eliminated those 2, now we can focus on what this guy does. Like, this point guard needs to stay because, and then here's my claim, here's my evidence. Like, he got like 3 baskets last practice and he was on fire, whatever you want to say. Same thing for the passages, okay? And then you're thinking of, from this list, if you want, or from nothing, from your head, you would come up with 2 questions of the group to get the group thinking. So if I were you, I would maybe start on this question list. Honestly, a great question that I hope someone asks is, guys, really, like, why do we have to cut this? Like, what would Dr. King say if we cut 2 sections out of the speech? Like, you can come in. I might feel that that's not okay with me, that I don't want to do that. And then people would have to persuade me why we're doing it. And then people would have to tell me like what parts of the speech they believe should be cut. I might say, you know what? I like parts of 3 the best because, and then you give your perspective, but you can always start speaking by questioning first. So you can come to the group with questions to ask first. You don't have to come to the group with answers for the questions that you want to ask. You are putting it on the group and you're kind of giving them a question to consider. I think that part is the best. I love asking questions. I don't have to worry about the answer. That's for other people. So I might say, hey, what's your interpretation of, this line right here? And you ask them to discuss that line. You could say, well, what is some evidence that we should cut part 3, right? You're asking those specific questions. What are some of the reasons that this would not be a good idea to cut 2 parts of this speech? Or what are some of the reasons why it wouldn't be a good idea to keep part 1? See what I'm saying? So you're digging into some reasons. Like, these are great. These 2 reasoning questions are awesome. All right, so you can kind of read through these and think, what would I question individuals with? Like, if Jose tells us like his part of the speech he wants to keep, I would maybe push him a little more, not just him, but anyone. Can you, Jose, can you give us an example of what you just said? Like, you just said something about this particular line. I just need to know a little bit more. Where in the text is that? And put that back on the person who is talking. Okay, so I think that is all for the seminar. Again, I know some of you are coming at this from, brand new from a place, jump in where you are at. It does not matter where you are or where you have been. It matters what you're going to do to prepare for tomorrow. So doesn't matter, wherever you're at, please come and engage in this Socratic seminar. Push yourself. It's about taking academic risks. Each class has people who do that, right? And so you want to use them as like your model in terms of like, okay, if that person can do it, I got this. And just try. You'll surprise yourself. Please email me if you have questions. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and hearing your ideas and observing all the good stuff that you'll do.